Hey, so in today's episode, I quote Gary Vaynerchuk where he says that the odds of becoming a human and making it to existence are 4 trillion to 1. And in the episode, I say 4 billion to 1. But also, admittedly, in the episode, I talk about the fact that I have no idea what that means because I don't have any relative context for comprehending it. But just wanted to issue that correction before we get into the show. Welcome back to Morning Coffee. My name is Rick Alexander and I host the Morning Coffee podcast. If you're digging the show, the best compliment you could give me is to share it on social media or just share it with somebody in your friend group or family or anyone you think might benefit from this message. You know, when I started this show, seems like a while ago now, it's only been a few years, but only about a year with the Morning Coffee message. And one of the things that I realized is I really want this show to just be a seed, right? I just want to plant a seed. I don't care if you agree with me. I don't care what you do with it. Just ask yourself the right questions. You know, sometimes you ask yourself a question, it hits you right between the eyes. And you realize, man, I'm not living the way I could be living, right? And then sometimes I ask you a question and you just got to mull it over for a while and you got to take a break from it, right? We have the left side of our brain, which is much more logical and analytical, and you can analyze yourself for a while, but eventually you're gonna have to take a step back and allow the creative side of your mind to take over and start to connect dots that didn't previously exist. And as you connect those dots is how you find new perspectives. And when you find a new perspective, you then have a way to change your life, right? You're not actually trapped by your thinking at that point. And so that's the point of this show. That's why I'm going to ask you all of the right questions. And, I try not to consume too much content outside of this because I don't want it to influence my content too much. But I follow a lot of the bigger players. I have about 4 people that I really admire the way that they go about crafting their content and that I follow. And then I follow some of the big players just to keep a pulse on the industry and what's happening. And of course, one of the biggest players in the market is Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V on social media. And one of the things he talks about is his most popular content he ever created was this thing where he said the chances of becoming human are 4 billion to 1. So those are the odds that you had to overcome in order to get here where you are right now and become the person. And he talks about how ludicrous it is that we don't go for it, right? That we don't step into who we're here to be. One of the things I was thinking about as I was meditating on this is not only are those the odds, which are so staggering, I really can't comprehend them, right? Like I don't have the brain capacity to comprehend what that kind of a statistic actually even means. But beyond that, I was thinking, it's also the best time in history to have ever gone for it, right? Because like right now, it doesn't matter if I'm black or white or male or female or gay or straight. Like I can start a radio show and broadcast to 70 countries. And there's nothing that I could have possibly done to get that. I inherited this world. And so you have to look around. You have to understand there isn't a thing that you have in this world that you enjoy that someone who came before you in time didn't suffer for, okay? Like a lot of people have put a lot of suffering into the things that you have right now. And that's also one of the reasons that you continue to push and evolve, and you should continue to push and evolve, because what you do in this lifetime, it helps your generation a little bit, but it helps the next generation a lot of it. That's kind of the lesson that we learned with the Rosa Parks story yesterday. And I know you all know that, but it's important to understand because paying it forward and pushing on and evolving yourself, it happens to be the least and most you could possibly do with your time. It's very easy to look at all the things we think we should be doing and the achievements we think we should have and the things we think are going to validate us. But at the end of the day, none of those things mean anything. All you have to do is be exactly who you are. So follow your curiosities, follow your passions, and push on into the world in that way. There's nothing else you have to be. You only have to be what you are. And then the beauty of that is you were born into a time where you actually have the freedom, the time freedom, the mobility freedom, the income freedom to really push in any direction that you want, right? And you get to really follow that curiosity. Now, it doesn't come innate, though. And so this is kind of the point of this episode. So if Gary Vee is saying, look, it's 4 billion to 1 that you are here, and then I'm saying, well, it's clearly the best time in history to have been born, at least from an opportunity standpoint. Because right now, you can really go for it in this life because of the opportunity, because of the time, because of where you were at in history. Like whatever it is you want, like it's your own creative power that is the limiting factor on how far you could go with it. right? And it's also your resilience, because perhaps you're creative, but reality often objects to our plans. And so if you're not resilient, you don't have the tools to get through adversity, okay? So that matters. But I also want to point out the fact that because everything we have came at a cost, our evolution also came at a cost, right? And so you are hardwired for a negativity bias. You're actually wired not to go for it, right? And so you have these negativity biases that are hardwired into your DNA. It's one of the reasons, like, one of my favorite way to express this example is to say, like, if you show a baby a picture of a spider, they don't have to have seen a spider. They're still going to feel the fear response course through their brain and through their body. And the reason that's happening is because it's hardwired into their DNA to be scared of spiders, right? And so it's hardwired into your DNA to not go too far out on a limb. When people were walking through the woods, the people that saw a branch hanging from a tree and assumed it was a snake, and it 9 times out of 10 turned out to be a branch, well, they kept living. But the people that assumed it was a branch, the one time it turned out to be a snake, they were taken out of the gene pool, and so they're not your ancestors. You come from a long lineage of survivors, but that surviving came at a cost, right? It wasn't free. You had to think in a way that would allow you to continue to exist. But then at the same time, you come from the same species that put a man on the moon, literally, right? And so here you are. You have what I like to call the cautious mind and the daring heart, and you're stuck in the space between them, and you're trying to figure it out. The reason I'm bringing all this up is to say the chances of you being here are who knows how slim. So slim that I actually can't calculate it myself and tell you what the hell that means. And then on top of that, you got the lottery ticket, right? Because you were born into a time where we already know you can put a man on the moon, and now you have the technology to do whatever the hell you want. So it's like the limits are again, they're boundless. They're bounded only by your creativity and your ability to handle that adversity. And so I guess I could ask the question of, like, so based on that, what are you going to do with it? But, I think that's kind of a lazy question, because you know all of this stuff. The thing to understand about yourself is you have the capacity for both. You have the capacity for survival and to play it small. You have to have. That's the only way that you could be here right now. But at the same time, your same species has the capacity to push it and put a person on the moon, literally, okay? And to create wealth and to generate wealth for all people across the board, and to synthesize information and shoot it through the air so it lands in Africa, right? Like, these are things that never existed. You just have to understand that you have the capacity to be both. And so sometimes we want to beat ourselves up. It's like, oh, am I lazy or am I ambitious? It's like, no, you're both. You understand that you're both. You have the capacity to be all things. Now, you're the one that chooses which side of yourself you're going to lean into in this life. And if you lean too far into the apathetic and the lazy, then that's what you're going to get. And if you lean too far into the awe-inspiring and the crazy, well, you might find yourself shouldering a little more failure, a little more risk than your species is used to handling, right? So you got to find that middle ground. But understand that you are standing on that middle ground 24/7, and whatever you lean into is what you're going to get in this life. So you have a capacity to play it small, right? You do, your ancestors did, I do too, okay? At the same time, you have a capacity to really go for it. To, like, really shoot for the stars, and I mean that quite literally. And you just have to decide, what do you want to do with this time, right? Because now you're no longer constrained by a society that has to produce cogs and it has to produce industry in order to get it ahead, right? Like, our chief export in the US right now, like, people talk a lot about, like, saving manufacturing jobs, but the reality is our chief export in the US is information now, right? We're the guy that invented the iPhone, and then we send it elsewhere to get built. And I don't know, depending, we broadcast this show in 70 plus countries, so I don't know what your chief export is, but if you can listen to this, that means you have internet, and if you have internet, that means you have the ability to export information. And so, again, it is your thoughts and your creativity that are holding you back in a lot of ways. But understand, you have the capacity to be and do all things. It's just, what are you leaning into at the time? Those are the results you're going to get. Like I always say, you get what you're tuned into. And I'm well aware of the fact that none of this is easy, okay? Because I think I spent 3 decades trying to convince myself that I was going for it, knowing full well that I wasn't stepping into the truth of who I'm here to be. And I'm only about a year into, like, really doing my best. Like, I mean, really leaning into the right energy and shouldering the burden and looking all of the risk in the face and looking all of my demons in the face and asking them for answers so that I can actually evolve to who I'm here to be. And it's not for everyone, and so I totally understand it, right? You're going against evolution in a lot of ways. But the beauty is, you've got the opportunity to, if you choose to take it. I love you guys. We'll talk tomorrow on Morning Coffee.
I'm in my 20s, so I panic in every way. I'm so scared of the future. I keep missing today. How did you do it? How did you turn out alright? I swear it's always easier back then. Or is it just hindsight? They keep telling me you've got your whole life ahead of you, baby. Don't worry, don't stress, do your best. What if that doesn't save me? They say if I could go back and do it again, I would have wasted all my money, would have slept with all my friends. But you didn't, cause you had your whole life ahead of you, baby. I don't dare shut my eyes, I don't wanna miss a thing. I don't wanna let you down, I don't wanna disappoint me. I won't stop looking at others, thinking that's where I should be. I'm trying to enjoy myself, love myself. Who the fuck is myself? But they keep telling me you've got your whole life ahead of you, baby. Don't worry, don't stress, do your best. What if that doesn't save me? They say if I could go back, if I was still young, I would've cared less, made more mistakes to learn from. But you didn't, cause you had your whole life ahead of you, baby. How did you make it work out? Don't tell me you faked it. Should I be changing it now, or am I too late? It could just be me, or maybe our generation. Still they say be patient, it's all meant to be. You've got your whole life ahead of you, baby. You've got your whole life ahead of you, baby. They say if I could go back and